perception. You're hearing it from their
Yeah,
mouths.
exactly. So it's the one thing he promised that he didn't do. And then now we have the weatherman. And I just, with the way New Mexicans vote, I feel like we're gonna get 4 years of Grisham again.
I have a feeling you're right. I think it's interesting that the Albuquerque Journal endorsed Ronchetti and said that he was going to be the next governor, essentially.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
I would love to see that. Is that a recent publication?
Albuquerque Journal, yeah. We should look it up right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna look that up really quick. So do you know when they endorsed him?
I believe that it was last week.
See, and normally, well, sometimes anyway, I'll have a buddy of mine sit behind here, and he pulls things up on the computer. But he's in training right now. Endorses Ronchetti. See, because I don't.
5 days ago.
Yep, I just found it too. Oh goodness.
I mean, it's interesting. We did a commercial for J Block, and we were walking through Coronado Park, and it was devastating, man. It's hard. It's hard walking through there and seeing people who have been living on the streets their entire lives and don't know anything different besides living on the street, or the ones that got into a bad situation. And it's hard to get out of it. And so that's where it's tough creating a plan for these people, because some people don't want help, but what about the people who do want help? How do we offer support to them? Because we can only offer so much. I think it's psychiatric care and support and having a plan. They need an ID. They need an address. How do they get a job?
Yeah. Yeah, and so, but you bring up a point, well, two actually, that people don't really either think about or really recognize or want to think about. It's that, there are homeless people out there that want to be homeless. Mm-hmm. They want to be.
Exactly.
And whether it's an actual, as informed as it can be, choice that they make, or it's all they know, and it's now formed. It's like a person that hoards everything, and they've got the boxes of newspapers and the boxes of trash and all stuff around their house. It's a mental illness. It forms into one. So they want to be homeless for whatever reason. And the second reason, and this really didn't get like brought to me, or like I really understood it until there was an episode of Joe Rogan. He had the mayor of Austin on. And the number one reason in Austin, apparently like their demographic, I was kind of comparing like their statistics to ours. They're very alike. Mm-hmm. The number one reason in Austin why there are homeless people is not because of drugs, not because of crime, not because of like race problems or like whatever that you normally hear. It's they were already living paycheck to paycheck. Mm-hmm. And it normally comes from and it's why most of the homeless population in the nation is male. There's a 2-person household where they have like 1 or 2 kids, they're married, and then they keep getting bills stack up. And more often than not, what ends up happening is they have like a medical bill. And then it's like they have to pay that off, or they pay the car off, or they pay off the medical bill, they lose the car.
Yep.
And then they lose a job because they can't get to their job. They get a divorce, and they get a divorce. The wife typically has family to lean upon or friends to lean upon, takes the kids, husband has nothing, homeless. It's that easy.
And how much support do you have? Who's in your corner telling you you can get through this? This is temporary.
Well, it's not even just that. It's just monetary.
Yeah.
Like the money problem too.
Absolutely. You feel defeated.
And that's pre-COVID.
I mean, mental illness, I mean, if you're having financial problems, that's huge on your mental health.
Yeah.
Survival mode. You're in survival mode. And so people, whether you're on the streets, whether you're in a mansion, if you're having financial problems, it's going to trickle out in your life in some way. Yeah. Within your attitude, within the way that you deal with things, until you get things straight. You know what I mean? And
that's like, I've always thought that, not always, this is an idea that I kind of thought about a couple of years ago during the pandemic. But like, I think it would never work because A, no one would go back into politics, and B, the people, it's like term limits, right? Who's going to vote in term limits? The people who need them the most, they vote themselves out of a job, right? So that's why we're never going to get them. Mm-hmm. But like, if you're a governor, if you're a senator, whatever it is, your pay should be based off of your GDP of your area that you govern, or the GDP of the area that you represent.
That's interesting.
Because, and it's a problem of the West. And I know I certainly fall into it as well. Not that I make a ton of money, because I certainly don't. sponsors help. But yes, The Rock, please give some of that Black Adam money. But no, it's a problem of the West where you see problems like homelessness, you see problems like crime, whatever it is that's like plaguing your community, drugs. Your goal, either actively or subconsciously, is I'm going to make enough money to where that no longer affects me.
Yeah.
That's like 90% of Americans. And so with politicians, they get into their job, they're making $250,000 a year, whatever it is. They finally get out of that neighborhood. They finally do whatever they're doing. And then it's like, hey, don't vote for this. Here's an extra $100,000. Hey, do vote for this. Here's an extra $80,000. And then it kind of just starts trickling in like that. And they stay away from their constituents and they no longer know what those problems are.
Exactly.
Imagine if a politician only made like $40 an hour.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He'd be hustling, right?
Right?
Because he would be working for the people.
Exactly. Because if that's the median of your area, which I think is the average salary for Americans right now is like $51,000.
That sounds about right.
So that shakes out to about 28, right? $30 an hour ish. So imagine if that's all a politician was making.
Yeah.
For their area. It's like, well, you better figure it out, dude. You better start advocating for the right things.
Definitely. And that is a great perception. Like we talked about the Nancy Pelosi and how much these people are making and how out of touch they could be with Americans.
How out of touch they are.
They are. How out of touch they are.
Did you see when she got asked about her husband's inside trading? Did you see that?
I actually didn't. I missed that one.
Oh my God. So it was right after they have still a huge computer chip shortage. And they were going to, they ended up giving a big government grant to NVIDIA that creates all the chips. And so right before they did it, like 2 weeks before, her husband bought like $8 million worth of NVIDIA stock. They do the grant, their stock sky rises, and they ask her about it. They were like, "Do you give any information to your husband about trading options or about bills you guys are going to put through?" She goes, "Oh no, I have no idea what you're talking about," and moves away the mic and like hoddles away. Yeah.
Yeah, so that makes us trust her even more. We're like, yes, I believe in her.
Yeah, she's like physically
she's great.
like palms the mic down and hobbles away.
No, yeah, that's not for the people. I mean, I'll give you an example. Ellis McMath running for House Representative in District 15. And so he is a retired Air Force controller. He did APD. He was a reserve officer. He does concealed carry classes. And he is an amazing, amazing man. And I feel like he's not out of touch. He walks his neighborhood, I mean, not his neighborhood, his district, and puts out flyers, and he's talking to people and everything like that. But you're right. I mean, it depends on the district.
Yeah.
Because is it a nice district? I mean, yeah, it's a nice district. It's just west of the Rio Grande. So it has that neighborhood, in that, like, sorry, I'm thinking geographically right now. That's south, east, west. I don't know. Over by Cottonwood.
Oh, okay. The west side.
Yeah, the west side.
Yeah, the upper west side. Yeah.
Yeah, not so much upper west side, but like right by the Rio Grande. You
Yeah.
know, so you have like nicer houses and things like that.
Yeah, it's upper. Yeah.
Yeah, and then so you have someone walking neighborhoods like that, or you have Michaela Chavez, and she's running for county commissioner in District 1, and she is in an area where it's central, it's downtown, it's Keller territory, and she is witnessing all of these things that are going on, and it's just interesting to see somebody so passionate about what's going on in their area.
Yeah.
But it depends on the area.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you, I lived in Florida for a while, in Sarasota. My grandparents lived on Longboat Key, and it's quite easy to be liberal over there when there's one murder per 5 years. You're like, oh yeah, everything's great. Like, love it over here. Like, there's no issue.
Right.
So when you're immersed in a place that has a lot of issues, what are we going to do about it?
Right.
And that's one thing I really liked about Jay Block is like, he was like, what the hell are we going to do about this shit? And he was willing to make that bipartisanship. I really am not interested in voting for anybody who doesn't mention working with the other side. Yeah. How are we going to make anything happen without working with the other side?
Yeah, and that was one thing I pushed back on him for because he let it slip a little bit. He was gonna get a little trigger happy with the executive orders, and I was like, well, maybe we need to work with the other side. Maybe we need to figure this out. He was like, no, we're just gonna do it. And I was like, okay. I've only got an hour. I'm not gonna argue that much, but okay, you've spoken for yourself.
Yes,
Because I agree. Like people think that 4 years is such a long time, and it's really not. It's really not. And again, I've never been in politics. I have absolutely no desire. I used to, but then I grew up and I was like, nope, no, thank you. And 4 years is not that long of a time, especially when I feel like you spend the first year figuring out what to do.
exactly.
I mean, you think about any job that you go to when you first start, it takes you 6 months to figure out what's going on. And you're there 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day. And to be doing a job like, I feel like once you hit governor and higher, it's a 24-hour day job. Like you don't stop. There is no days off. It's just very frequently just going. And it still takes them like a year to figure out what's going on, which is, I mean, they give people like, again, let's assume that experience means something. Biden has been in politics for like 30 something years, right? And they still give people like him the first 100 days to figure out what's going on as a president, right? And so to ask that of anyone at a state level to get it together in the first like month is insane.
It is insane. And it's different. I mean, we're talking about if we were comparing people such as Mark Ronchetti.
Please continue. I'm just going to check like the cameras and stuff.
Very good. If we're talking about like Mark Ronchetti, who has never been in a position such as that. And then we're talking about Jay Block, who has had experience and knows how to do things and knows how things work. Who would you trust? I mean, and that's where it gets interesting because it's like, do we want somebody who's already been in the game and is playing the game? Are they playing the game? Like there's so many questions and so many variables to each candidate that it's hard to decipher. But all I know is that working with these people, they're people. They're people.
Right.
So like we hold politicians to this very, very high standard. They have to be role models. They have to be perfect.
They should be. In all fairness,
they should be.
They should be.
I mean, they're representatives of the people. And I get that. And so we look at these high positions, but then we have to remember these are people.
Yeah.
That have, that go home every day, still have to, maybe they cook for themselves, maybe they don't. I have no idea. But, I'm not sure how.
Nancy Pelosi's made a dinner for herself in the last 50 years.
Probably not. So we're all people at the end of the day. We all fuck up. And so I think that we have to keep those things in mind and not put people on pedestals.